Hole in a Box by C.S.R.
Chapter 9. Time for a dinner party. Marla was so excited and riled up about her meeting that on the way to her room, she completely forgot about what happened moments before she met Hamilton. But the moment Marla stepped in front of the door that was at a crack, she recalled the previous events. Very hesitantly, Marla pushed the door open and saw Fowler and Malcolm waiting by the closet.
We're not gonna chase you this time,
Fowler said very bluntly as he leaned against the wall, arms folded into his chest.
Look, it's now or never. The portal is going to close up for good tomorrow. Not sure exactly when, but it's gonna be tomorrow. Whether it be morning or night, it's not gonna be too long that you can enter Uttradesma. So you need to make up your mind right away. If you don't, say goodbye to all the Smaragds because you won't ever be able to see them again.
He stood up straight and turned toward the closet.
Come on, Malcolm.
Malcolm turned away too, but the two men looked back at Marla once more.
Make up your mind and make it up fast. Uttradesma or this old dump of an orphanage.
Fowler picked up the box and dropped it on himself from over his head. As the box went down on him, he started to disappear. Before Malcolm did the same, he grunted at Marla and then reenacted the same movement as his partner. Marla went throughout her day feeling torn in two. She didn't know whether or not she should believe Fowler, but if he was telling the truth and the portal would close the next day, Marla didn't know if she should risk it or wait for Hamilton. She didn't know why she had such faith in this human stranger, but she felt that he would keep his promise. Her faith in Smaragds was wavering. After all, Darlene and Jarvis never returned to her, and now she had been attacked by a suspicious duo. Marla was feeling so utterly confused and prayed an answer would come to her by night. But as the day was coming to an end and the evening crept up on her, Marla still could not think of a resolve. Marla sat down for dinner staring at her dubious soup, hoping that an answer may live within its murky yellow-green color. Suddenly, she was so deep in thought, a hand came from behind her, placing itself on her head, forcing her face into her soup. Marla couldn't jerk her head up or breathe as she was so drowning in her entangled thoughts and unsavory food. She started to struggle to get free, hearing the laughter from all the children around her.
How can they be laughing at this?
She started to think to herself.
I'm dying. Someone is trying to kill me. How is that humorous?
Finally, Marla felt the hand loosen up on her, so she sat up all the way to gasp for air, knocking her bowl on the floor in all of her drastic measures. She bowed her head while coughing up the soup that forced its way into her. She tried to focus on catching her breath, but felt her concentration go all to the other children cackling at her. Marla looked to see who had attacked her and saw Jacob standing there with a smug grin on his face. He was giggling under his breath, staring at Marla with delirious eyes that took pleasure in her suffering. He began to speak in a taunting manner.
You never got punished for sleeping on the floor, so I thought I'd do it for them. And this time it doesn't matter if you cry.
Then another voice called out,
Punish her again for wasting her food and dropping her bowl on the floor.
A calamity of voices joined in, agreeing with the first and naming other things to punish for, or how to punish her. Marla looked over at the adults who did nothing. They didn't even budge. Suddenly she felt Jacob's arms around her, pulling her back out of her seat.
Check to see if she's got anything in her pockets.
When Marla heard that, she started to violently squirm and fuss, twisting her body all around to get loose. Jacob just tightened his grip and limited her movements.
No!
Marla howled as she saw other children scurry near her.
Stay away!
She knew she had to protect her emerald. She didn't want anyone touching it. It was hers, and she'd rather die than let anyone touch it. She was overrun with fear and so many other emotions. She had never felt this way before. But then again, she had never felt love, happiness, and kindness until Jarvis, Darlene, and Hamilton came into her life. That was it. She knew then why she never minded the bullying. She never realized how hurtful pain was because she was always hurting. But now that she felt moments of healing, when she became used to, it had become unbearable. Marla let out a piercing scream and then bit down onto Jacob's arm, causing him to let go. Nobody said or did anything. They were all too shocked by Marla's display to think of what to do next. Marla stared at them all with burning eyes.
You are all savages.
She screamed.
All of you. Evil, despicable savages.
Marla pushed people out of her way and dashed for the door. No one, not even the adults, did anything to stop her. Marla ran all the way down the halls and into her room. She would have cried, but she was far past her limits to do so. She was far too furious and full of rage to feel pity or tears come to her. Instead, Marla went to where she had placed the hat that held Jarvis's hat and gift, bringing it out of hiding. She had went to the closet and grabbed her box and sat on the floor. She held the bag close to her as she intently stared at the box. Finally, Marla felt a warmth come to her face as little wet drops left her eyes and poured off her cheeks. She quickly wiped them away and brought the box over her head, the same way Fowler did. She bid Homans adieu and brought the box down on herself and the bag.